Discovered, the millionaire who froze upon hearing the touching warning from his hidden black maid. Jack Thompson had it all: a sprawling mansion nestled in the heart of a small southern town, a booming business empire, and a perfect family that seemed to embody the American dream. His life was the envy of the community, polished and pristine, a glossy magazine cover come to life. Yet, behind the scenes, his opulent lifestyle masked a chilling truth. He hadn't shared a heartfelt moment with his wife or children in ages. His only companion in this gilded cage was Clara, the devoted housekeeper who had been with him through thick and thin. Clara, wise and warm-hearted, carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. Each morning, while Jack reveled in his business successes, he failed to sense the shadows lurking just beyond his manicured garden. As news of an impending economic downturn spread like wildfire, Clara's heart sank. She'd seen enough struggle in her own community, where hope flickered like a dying candle, an ember threatening to ignite anger and despair. One quiet evening, the air heavy with unspoken fears, Clara gathered her courage and approached Jack. "Sir, these hard times are coming. The folks in our neighborhood are hurting. We need to look out for one another." Her voice was steady, but nostalgia wrapped around her words, stirring up memories of laughter and shared community dinners. Jack scoffed, dismissing her concerns. "Clara, I've built an empire here. I know how to protect it. Don't worry." The tension thickened, but Clara stood firm, unwilling to back down. "It's not just about you, Jack. It's about the lives tethered to yours. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack had blinked, bewildered by her audacity. Why should he care about the struggles of those around him? He had his empire, his wealth. But as the days rolled on, the cracks in his empire began to widen. Business deals that felt solid crumbled under the weight of the economy, and anxiety wrapped around him like a boa constrictor. Clara, ever shifting in the background, bore witness to his spiral, her own family's fights against poverty bubbling to the surface of her heart. That he started isolating himself more in his office, poring over spreadsheets that seemed more daunting each day. Clara watched from afar, her wisdom often ignored, while she felt her own family sinking deeper into worry. The warmth of their Sunday dinners had turned into echoes of silence, the laughter replaced by tension seeping from Jack's very core. The storm outside matched the turmoil within. As Jack teetered on the edge of despair, it was Clara's words that began to echo louder in his mind. He caught glimpses of families struggling within the community, faces he'd once known filled with a heavy sorrow, children without food, parents battling despair. Was his relationship with Clara just a footnote in this story, or could she be the lifeline pulling him back to a reality he had long ignored? Stricken with guilt and fear, Jack stood at the precipice of life-altering decisions. Clara's presence loomed large in his thoughts as the distant hum of the community's struggle reached a fevered pitch. The heart of the community pulsed just beyond the walls of his fortress, and Jack had to confront the question burning within him: what legacy would he choose to embody? What would happen when the last illusion shattered? Jack awoke the next day with a strange sense of heaviness in his chest. The morning light streamed through his grand windows, but it felt dimmer than usual, as if the sun itself was holding its breath. He watched the shadows play on the walls, memories of Clara's words tumbling through his mind like fallen leaves in an autumn breeze. He could hear the distant sounds of voices, laughter, and the cries of children from the neighborhood, an invitation mixed with an undercurrent of desperation. After a hurried breakfast that felt more like a ritual than nourishment, he found himself drawn to the front door, his feet moving before his thoughts could catch up. Stepping outside, he was hit by a wave of sound from the streets. Families had gathered, some digging through donated boxes of clothes while others set up makeshift food stands. These were not just neighbors, they were part of his community. Jack's heart raced as recognition washed over him. he knew them all. One family stood out, the Johnsons. Mrs. Johnson, a single mother, held her infant strapped to her chest while her older kids darted about, laughing even in the face of adversity. Jack remembered the family from his childhood, their kindness interwoven with his own family's wealth and privilege. As he stumbled down the path, an unfamiliar urge guided him toward them. It was instinctive, he just needed to be near them. "Jack!" Mrs. Johnson exclaimed, her smile both bright and weary. Instinctively, he felt the warmth of connection, but that moment was fleeting. "We're managing, but it's tough," she added, a shadow of worry crossing her face. He was at a crossroads. The looming darkness of his crumbling empire whispered for him to retreat, but Clara's insights tore through that veil. "Look out for one another." Suddenly, the walls of his mansion felt suffocating. He had a choice to make. Motivated by something deeper than business interests, he scanned the scene. An idea blossomed within him: a neighborhood gathering. A place where he could and should leverage his resources. "Would you all come to my house?" he heard his voice saying, surprised by the invitation slipping out before he could question it. "I can provide food and maybe help each family in some way." Startled gasps filled the air before laughter chased them away. "Jack, are you serious? Your place?" Mrs. Johnson asked, her eyes wide with hope and disbelief. "Yes. Let us make it happen." By the time he uttered those words, something within him was ignited. Alongside all the doubts, hope spread through the crowd, the families chatting with renewed energy. It felt good to play a part, to truly connect. For the first time in a long while, his heart swelled with purpose. As the day rolled on, plans began to unfold for the gathering. Food trucks, donations, even music. Excitement filled the air, the kind he hadn't felt in years. Yet, amid the laughter and chatter, the numbing anxiety gnawed at him. What if it didn't work out? What if he disappointed them? That evening, he sat at his desk late into the night, papers scattered around like a storm had blown through. The weight of his past choices clawed at him. His decisions had mattered. He had built walls, but now could he build bridges instead? Days passed quickly as the gathering approached. Clara was relentless, her sturdy presence a reminder that action spoke louder than worried thoughts. Jack saw a glimmer of excitement in her eyes, one that mirrored the light slowly returning to his own, but just as optimism began to take root, he received a call that threatened to upend his dreams. "Mr. Thompson, we have an urgent matter to discuss regarding your business." Panic struck Jack's chest like a fist. Would he lose everything just as he had found a way to give back? The following day would bring him to a moment of reckoning, one that held implications far beyond his wildest dreams. Did he have the strength to face it? Would the fragile bonds he was building crumble under pressure? As the sun set, Jack could only wonder what it all meant. With newfound hope, he took a deep breath. What lay ahead would test not just his resolve, but his very identity. The path was uncertain, and he held his fate tightly in his hands, right at the threshold of transformation. What awaited him in the morrow would change everything. The morning light peeked through the curtains, casting thin stripes across Jack's face as he wrestled with sleep. He sat up abruptly, heart pounding. Yesterday's call about his business echoed in his mind, taunting him. What could they want so urgently? The walls of his once thriving company felt like a prison now. He could feel the walls tightening. With a heavy sigh, he glanced around the room that felt like an alien landscape now. The grand furniture and ornate decor had lost their appeal, leaving only reminders of a life spent in pursuit of success rather than connection. He needed a plan fast. How could he juggle the impending business crisis while still trying to keep his promise to the neighborhood? Jack put on a pot of coffee, his hands shaking. He poured himself a cup and glanced out the window, the neighborhood bustling with life, yet he felt so detached. Would they still want him, even after hearing the whispers of his failing empire? He took a deep breath, steeling himself. Today was about more than just business. It was about making amends, proving to himself and to everyone that he could change. By mid-morning, he was already on the phone, trying to schedule a meeting with his business advisor. Each ring felt like a countdown to disaster. When the line finally connected, Jack's words stumbled out. "We need to talk." "What's happening? Is something wrong?" The advisor's voice was calm but firm. "Jack, the debt keeps escalating. We're facing serious financial pressure. If we don't address this today, it could cost you everything." A knot formed in Jack's stomach. This was the moment of truth, the reality he had tried to ignore, but right as panic enveloped him, a thought broke through. It didn't have to be all or nothing. He imagined the families he had just committed to supporting, and a spark of determination ignited within him. "Can we buy time? Can we reach an agreement?" "Possibly, but it'll take some swift actions. Have you thought about liquidating some assets?" Jack felt his heart sink at the thought. A lifetime of hard work flashed before his eyes, yet he realized he needed to focus on what mattered: the people around him and their mutual survival. He hung up with a heavy heart, uncertainty swirling around like a storm cloud. As he prepared to meet with the community later that evening, the weight of his dual responsibilities hung delicately around his neck. He needed to put on a brave face. When he arrived at his home, a flurry of activity buzzed around him. Neighbors were setting up tables and unpacking colorful boxes of food. Laughter rang out and children darted between legs, their excitement palpable. Yet Jack felt like a ghost watching a celebration happening without him. He hesitated at the threshold. "Jack! Over here!" Clara waved him over. Just seeing her bright smile buoyed his spirits a little. She could see through his forced grin, though, and raised an eyebrow at him. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," he replied, though doubt crept into his voice. "Don't let it eat you alive. You're here now. Let's bring the community together." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the gathering began to take shape. Jack stepped forward to join the growing crowd, welcoming neighbors and serving food alongside Clara. Their laughter seemed to lift his worries, if only for a moment. But deep down, his heart raced. He had to find a way to resolve his business troubles. They deserved that much. Suddenly, a child tugged at his sleeve. It was one of the Johnson's kids, beaming up at him, a paper plate stacked high with cupcakes in his hands. "Mr. Jack, can I take these to my mom?" A flicker of joy flashed in Jack's heart. It was a small gesture, but it anchored him amidst his swirling fears. The thought of something as simple as a cupcake managed to cut through his anxiety. Yet as he turned back to the gathering, he felt a presence loom over him. The crunch of gravel underfoot drew his attention, and he faced the shadows gathering at the entrance. A figure stood there, shrouded in the fading light. The rigidity in their stance sent a spike of apprehension through him. "Jack Thompson," said a low voice, cutting through the joyful noise of the gathering. "We need to talk about your future and your past." Jack's heart raced. Who was this person? And what did they know? His palms grew sweaty, and he could feel the warmth of the gathering retreating. Just when he thought he had found a way forward, the ground shifted beneath him once again. What awaited him in the dark uncertainty? Jack stood frozen, his mind racing to catch up to the reality before him. The figure wearing a dark coat took a step forward, the outline sharp against the glow of the gathering lights. In that moment, the noise around him faded into nothingness, neighbors laughing, children playing, it all blurred into the background. "Who are you?" Jack managed to choke out, the words barely escaping his lips. The figure stepped closer, revealing a face that was both familiar and unsettling. It was Anna, his former housekeeper. She had worked for him for years but had quietly left when he decided to downsize. Jack hadn't thought much of it then, it felt like just another business decision. But seeing her now, her expression filled with concern, sliced through him like a cold knife. "Jack," she said softly, "I didn't know if I would find you here." Her eyes scanned the gathering, lingering on the joyful faces, and then quickly returning to his. I had to come. You're in trouble. Jack took a step back. You're not supposed to be here. I don't need anyone's pity, Anna. The words slipped out harsher than he intended, but the anxiety twisting in his gut made it hard to soften his tone. I'm not here to pity you, she replied, her voice steady. I'm here because I care. The sincerity in her gaze surprised him, and for a moment, he felt vulnerable. You don't understand, he stammered, I'm managing things. I'll figure it out. Anna shook her head. No, Jack. You're not listening. You need to prepare. He furrowed his brow, confused. Prepare for what? For what's coming. I overheard some things. About your company and those you owe. They won't wait. This is serious. Jack's chest tightened as her words sank in. The dark thoughts he had tucked away were pulling at him once again. He felt the walls of his beautiful home closing in, stifling him, just like his impending financial doom. But how do you know? He asked incredulously. You left that life behind. Just because I'm gone doesn't mean I forgot. I see everything, Anna responded, her eyes cutting through his defenses. You're a good man, Jack. But the way you've treated your closest connections? That's what's haunting you. It's not just the money. It's trust your community, your promise. For a heartbeat, he was right back where it all started, wrestling with the guilt of every person he had neglected in the wake of his ambition. He looked away, unable to hold her gaze. Anna, he started, but the words got caught in his throat. He felt the heat of embarrassment wash over him. Before he could stumble through his thoughts, she continued, you have to find a way to make it right. Your employees deserve better, and so do the people you care about, like Clara and the neighborhood. She was right. Clara, the joyful glint in her eyes, the way she lifted him when he was down, and the support of families around him, they believed in him. If he couldn't rally that same belief in himself, everything might just collapse. I need time, Jack admitted, his voice a hoarse whisper. Time to fix this. You need more than time, Anna pressed, her urgency rising. You need a plan. They won't wait forever, Jack. A shadow flickered behind Anna, and his heart lurched. The figure from before had moved closer, watchful and patient. Jack swallowed hard. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on him. The stark reality of his situation felt heavier than ever. I'll do whatever it takes, he said finally, determination flickering in his chest. Then let's start now. Just then, the vibrant laughter of the gathering returned, jolting him from his inner turmoil. Clara glanced over, worry etching her features. Sensing his distress, she made her way toward him, concern sweetening her voice. Jack, are you okay? Her question pulled him back into the moment, a lifeline amid chaos. But as he glanced back at Anna, the plea in her eyes told him there was still more to uncover. I'll need your help, he replied, voice steadying. Always, Anna affirmed, looking as though she carried a burden she hadn't yet revealed. And before he could ponder further, Jack spoke to Clara, I have something important to do. The moment stretched, the weight of uncertainty lingering thicker than ever. As the warmth of the gathering buzzed around him, Jack felt a familiar flicker of hope and dread, what was lurking beneath the surface, ready to resurface. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the cool evening air fill his lungs. Clara's presence grounded him, but the tension in his heart only grew heavier. He watched Anna step back slightly, merging with the shadows cast by the street lamps as if she had come to deliver a message and was now fading into the night. Jack? Clara's voice broke through his thoughts again. You're scaring me. What is going on? He hesitated, wanting to shield her from the reality spiraling out of control. Nothing, just a lot on my mind, he replied, forcing a smile that felt brittle, but Clara wasn't convinced. You can't lie to me. I know you. Her eyes searched his, reflecting concern and love, the kind that weighed on him like a heavy winter coat. Clara, he started, but his words faltered as Anna's warning echoed in his head. Tell me, she insisted, her voice unwavering. The laughter of their neighbors felt distant now, swallowed by the weight of the moment. Jack glanced back at Anna, whose eyes seemed to shimmer in the dim light, urging him silently to open up. He hated the idea of burdening Clara with his troubles, but keeping his secrets was becoming unbearable. Okay, he finally said, I'm facing some challenges with the company. Financial issues. Clara's expression shifted, her concern deepening. What kind of challenges? The kind that could ruin everything I've built. He hesitated, unsure if he should admit the full extent of his fears. He'd spent years building this life, this facade of success, and now it felt like everything was about to crash down around him. What about the employees? The community? That's what Anna meant, right? Clara pressed, her brow furrowed with concern. Yes, he confessed, guilt surging through him. I haven't been a good leader. I've neglected them. And now, if things go south, I don't know what will happen to them or the neighborhood. Clara took a step closer, her hand reaching for his. Jack, you can't go through this alone. We can figure it out together. You've always helped everyone else, maybe it's time to let them help you. He felt a warmth spreading through his chest at her words. She had that effect on him, she was always his beacon. But what if I can't fix this? What if I lose everything? Then we start over, Clara replied, her voice firm yet full of compassion. But you have to promise me you'll be honest about what's happening. No more hiding. Together, we can come up with a plan. Jack took a moment, and for the first time, he allowed himself to feel vulnerable. The thought of being open terrified him, but at the same time, it flickered with the hope of real connection. Okay, he said, his voice steadying. I promise. At that moment, Clara smiled, her bright spirit shining through. But just as Jack felt a glimmer of hope, Anna's expression haunted him again. What if Anna is right? He murmured, his thoughts spilling out. What if the people I've neglected don't want anything to do with me anymore? Then you work to earn back their trust, Clara said fiercely. You've done it before, you can do it again. Show your community who you really are. Show them the Jack I know, a man capable of change. Across the street, shadows danced as people continued to enjoy the festivities, oblivious to the turmoil weighing down Jack's heart. He felt the uncertainty clawing at him, a raw ache that was hard to ignore. Tomorrow, Jack murmured, the idea slowly taking shape. I'll start reaching out. I need to be upfront. I need to take responsibility. Clara nodded, but before she could respond, the shadow behind Anna flickered again. Jack's gaze darted, and panic gripped him. Had someone else heard? Were they watching him, waiting for the right moment to pounce? The night had shifted. The laughter was still there, but now it rang hollow, echoing the uncertainty that whispered through the darkness. Jack's plan solidified, a burning urgency igniting within him, yet he felt a lurking dread tightening around him. It's time to face this, he said more firmly, though his heart raced at what might unfold. As Clara squeezed his hand, affirming their connection, Jack realized he'd stepped into a battle he hadn't expected. What would he uncover in the upcoming days, as he faced not just the financial crisis, but the ghosts of his past decisions? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that crept across the parking lot. Jack stood in front of the closed doors of his company, heart pounding. He had made a promise to Clara, and he intended to keep it. But stepping inside felt like walking into the jaws of a giant beast, ready to swallow him whole. He took a deep breath, the stale air of the building mixed with a hint of formaldehyde from the maintenance crew lingering in the corners. The sight of his employees bustling about in the dim morning light tugged at his heart. They were a patchwork of resilience, laughter, and dreams, all working towards something he had built. The weight of the responsibility felt heavier than ever. "Jack!" came a voice, shattering his thoughts. It was Mia, the receptionist's enthusiastic greeting filling the open space with a warmth he desperately needed. "Good to see you. How was your weekend?" Fine, Mia." "Just fine," he replied, forcing a smile. But the cheer in her voice reminded him how much he had neglected not just the business, but them too. As he entered his office, he noticed the framed photos on his desk, the annual staff outings, birthday parties, moments of celebration. Each frame felt like a reminder of the connections he had let slip away. Guilt coiled in his stomach. He hadn't just let himself down, he had let them down, but he couldn't stay paralyzed by the past. Today was about honesty. He needed to confront the team, own his mistakes, and invite them back into his plans. The words that had been bubbling inside him felt sharp as they surfaced. "All right," he whispered to himself, building a resolve. He grabbed a stack of papers that detailed the current financial status and gathered his courage. When Jack stepped into the main conference room, he found his team already seated, murmurs quieting as they noticed him enter. The looks they exchanged held a mix of hope and uncertainty. He could see the questions in their eyes. Was he here to deliver good news? Or would he crush them with bad tidings? "Hey, everyone. Thank you for gathering here," he began, the room tense with expectation. "I wanted to sit down because I owe you all some honesty." The air thickened as he shared the struggles they were facing, the financial crisis looming overhead. With each word, he could feel their collective heartbeat. "I know I haven't been the best leader. I put profits over people, and that has put us all in jeopardy." Faces flushed with concern, and he felt the weight of their gazes, trying to read him. "I've been scared," Jack continued, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "I didn't want to admit how bad things were. I thought I could fix it all on my own, but I see now that I can't. I don't want to lose what we've built together. I need your help." Surprised expressions broke out among his team members. Whispers filled the room as his admission sank in. Then, Clara walked in, as if guided by a higher purpose. She stood beside Jack, a silent show of support just like he needed. "Jack is right," she proclaimed, radiating strength. "Things might seem dire, but every challenge can be met with a plan and the right team." She met the eyes of his employees with a fierce determination. "We need to work together to lift this company back up. We can do it, but we have to trust one another again." Jack caught sight of Mia nodding slowly, her eyes glimmering. One by one, hands began to rise, offering suggestions and ideas. The energy transformed, morphing from anxiety to a collective determination. Suddenly, the room was filled with voices, their voices. Ideas poured out like water from a broken dam. Jack felt a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end after all, but amidst the shared excitement, the shadow of Anna loomed in his thoughts. He remembered her words, the warning that had begun all of this turmoil. What if they didn't want him leading anymore? What if he had already lost their trust? As the conversation unfolded, Jack felt the tremor of doubt again, but this time, he pushed it aside. With every idea that emerged from his team, the gaping hole of despair within him slowly filled with flickers of determination. "Let us take this one step at a time," he said, trying to calm his racing heart. "I'll pledge to be open, to come to you when I'm struggling. Will you be my partners in this?" A chorus of affirmatives washed over him, but the anxiety still lingered, gnawing at the back of his mind. What would happen next? Would they really stand by him when the going got tough? And as he listened to their voices rise with hope, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much bigger fight. Would Jack truly become the leader they needed, or would the shadows of his past keep him from driving them forward? As the buzz of excitement echoed through the conference room, Jack felt a knot of anxiety twist tighter in his chest. The warmth of their encouragement momentarily distracted him, but the reality of the situation pressed heavily on his mind. He glanced at Clara, who wore a confident smile. In her presence, he felt slightly more capable, but doubt still loomed. "Okay," he said, raising his voice over the chatter. "Let us put together some groups to tackle specific issues. Finance, marketing, and operations." Mia immediately raised her hand, biting her lip with eagerness. "I can start on the marketing side. I have a couple of ideas about how we can boost visibility." "Great idea. And we'll need to brainstorm ways to cut unnecessary costs too," Jack replied, feeling a flicker of hope ignite in his chest. It felt good to be planning, to be moving forward, rather than retreating back into his shell. As they divided into smaller groups, he watched his team rally around each other, energetic whispers turning into passionate discussions. Each voice felt like a thread weaving through the fabric of their future, and for the first time in a long while, Jack felt like he was witnessing something much larger than himself. This was community, it was trust, and maybe even redemption. But just as he began to bask in that warm glow, Anna's warning slipped back into focus. He hadn't heard from her since their last encounter, and a tiny part of him worried what her silence meant. Did she regret her words? Or had she decided to wash her hands of the whole mess? The anxiety clawed at him, a reminder that everything was still fragile. "Jack?" Clara's voice cut through the flurry of thoughts. "You okay?" He shook himself back to the present. "Yeah, just thinking." "You can't do this alone," she reminded him gently, crossing her arms. "Remember, we're all in this together." Her words reassured him, but the second wave of uncertainty struck. What if after everything he had already made too many mistakes? What if the fissures in their trust ran deeper than he realized? Jack cleared his throat and faced the team again to give updates. "I'm really proud of how everyone is contributing. This is just what we need." He took a moment to catch the rising tide of enthusiasm. "Let us reconvene later this week to see how our plans are developing." As the session ended, the lingering light of the day began to flicker outside the window. Jack remained behind, tidying up the conference table and taking a moment to reflect. Just then, Mia approached him, her face bright with new ideas. "Jack, I was thinking, what if we host a community event? Get people involved, show them we're still thriving despite the struggles." His heart soared. "That's brilliant. Engaging the community could make a real difference." But beneath the surface, a different feeling stirred. "Mia, are you sure you're on board?" "I mean," after everything, she gave a soft laugh, surprising him. "Of course. We need to believe in the future, right? And we're all here for you." The weight he had been carrying felt lighter. But then his phone buzzed suddenly, shattering his moment of tranquility. It was a message from Anna that read simply, "We need to talk. It's important." He stared at the screen, heart racing again. What could she possibly want? Had she reconsidered? Or was this a warning of some kind? As he contemplated the message, his joy from the day faded slightly, replaced by a chilling sense of foreboding. His steps felt heavier as he left the office, and yet the flicker of hope still burned within him. What awaited him in that conversation with Anna? Would it sink their plans or propel them forward? The cold air outside nipped at Jack's skin as he stepped into the late afternoon, the sudden chill reflecting the uncertainty swirling in his mind. He clutched his phone tightly, the glowing screen still lighting up with Anna's message. He wanted to ignore it, to shove it back into the depths of his pocket like a dark secret. But the nagging feeling clawed at him, pushing him towards an answer. What did she want? His thoughts spiraled as he rounded the corner, the distant hum of traffic fading into the background. He tried to focus on the community event with Mia, the excitement of a shared purpose that had bloomed in the conference room. But the dread tugged at his heart, juxtaposing hope against fear. As he reached home, he took a deep breath and opened the door. The warm scent of his favorite dinner wafted through the air. His mom stood at the stove, stirring a pot of what looked like chili. She turned, her smile instantly brightening the space. Hey, you. You look like you've been through the ringer. Everything okay? Jack forced a smile, not wanting to burden her with his worries. Yeah, just some work stuff. Work stuff or work drama? She raised an eyebrow, a playful glint catching her eye. He chuckled softly, but it faded quickly as he slipped into his usual seat at the table. It's complicated. You know I'm here if you want to talk, she said, placing a steaming bowl of chili in front of him. Thanks, Mom. He appreciated her warmth, but his mind was still on Anna. He started eating, the flavors comforting, but his appetite was half-hearted at best. After dinner, he should have felt relaxed, but the tension returned tenfold. He decided to FaceTime Clara, hoping to clear his head. Her face lit up the screen, enthusiasm spilling out as she waved. Jack. How did it go after the meeting? Pretty good, I think. Mia has this incredible idea for a community event, and people seem on board. But he hesitated, biting his lip. I just got a message from Anna. She wants to talk, and I have no idea what about. Clara's smile faltered. Oh, wow. That's unsettling. Do you think it's bad? I don't know. I mean, she didn't sound mad in person. But what if she wants to shut everything down? Maybe she's just scared of step forwarding, too, Clara suggested. You know she cares, right? Yeah, but she's been so quiet lately. What if she's ready to give up? His heart sank at the thought. They shared a moment of silence. Clara's brow furrowed thoughtfully. You can't let fear decide your next move. You've built something here. Just because she might have doubts doesn't mean you should, too. Her words hung in the air like a lifeline, but a part of him still trembled. They hung up, and Jack took one last look at Anna's message. The clock ticked ominously in the background, reminding him of the seconds he was wasting. Closing his eyes, he imagined the meeting with his team, the sense of camaraderie that enveloped him. But could that spirit withstand whatever Anna had to say? He took a deep breath and dialed Anna's number. Hearing her voice would either anchor him or send him adrift. Hey, Anna. It's Jack. You wanted to talk. Silence stretched, and his heart raced. Yeah, I did. Can we meet? 1,000 questions surged through his mind, but they didn't matter right now. All he knew was that the meeting could change everything. What was she going to say? Would it turn everything upside down or lead to a new path? The next day, Jack's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts as he walked toward the coffee shop where he agreed to meet Anna. Each step felt heavier than the last. The once vibrant sounds of the city people laughing, cars honking, the rhythmic thumping of music from a nearby shop felt muted, drowned by his own growing anxiety. He pushed the door open and the warmth enveloped him, but it did little to ease the chill that clung to his bones. The familiar scent of roasted coffee beans and pastries filled the air. He spotted Anna sitting at a small table in the corner, nervously stirring her drink. Her eyes were fixed on the cup, and she didn't notice him walk in. Taking a moment to gather himself, Jack inhaled deeply, willing his heart to slow. She looked up, and their eyes met. A flicker of recognition passed over her face, followed by a hesitant smile. He offered a small wave, then made his way to her. Hey, he greeted, sliding into the chair across from her. Thanks for coming, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded, but the weight of the air between them felt dense. So what's up? Anna took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as they wrapped around her cup. I've been thinking about everything about you, about the project. A knot tightened in Jack's stomach. What about it? I'm worried, she admitted, looking down and tracing the rim of her cup. I just don't know if we can make it happen. I've been feeling overwhelmed and I don't want to fail. Jack felt his chest constrict. But we've made so much progress. Mia believes in it. The community needs this, he urged, trying to catch the spark of excitement he once saw in her. Exactly. And what if I can't keep up? There was an edge in her voice, a hint of the fear that had driven her away. What if everything I do just holds you all back? That struck a nerve. This was the doubt he had feared. That's normal, he reassured her, trying to keep his voice steady. We all have doubts, Anna. It doesn't mean we're not capable. It just means we need each other more than ever. Her eyes finally met his, and there was a flicker of something hope, maybe, but it quickly dimmed. What if it's not enough? I feel like I'm constantly on the verge of messing everything up. Maybe it's better for me to step aside. Step aside? The words burst from him before he could soften them. You can't just walk away. This isn't just about you. We invested so much of ourselves. We're a team. Anna sighed, her shoulders slumping. That's the thing, Jack. If I don't believe in me, how can I expect anyone else to? Her vulnerability struck a chord. Jack reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. I believe in you. I believe in us. Let us tackle this together. Just then, the barista interrupted with their drinks, setting a steaming latte in front of Anna and a dark roast in front of Jack. It broke the tension, and they both chuckled softly. But as the laughter faded, the seriousness of their conversation returned. I just don't know where to go from here, she confessed, her voice trembling. Jack felt desperation clawing at him. He needed to say something that could shift her perspective. What if we set smaller goals? Take a step back and celebrate the little victories? I mean, it's not about the destination but the journey too, right? Anna hesitated, processing his words. For a moment, her gaze flickered with a spark of understanding. You really think that would help? Absolutely, Jack affirmed, squeezing her hand gently. We've come this far, Anna. There's no way I'm letting you go. Her response was interrupted by a sudden text alert from her phone. She glanced down, and for a fleeting second, Jack saw her expression shift. Confusion, then shock. Oh no. What? What's wrong? His heart raced again, every beat almost deafening in his ears as he leaned in closer. She looked up at him, panic etched across her face. It's about the funding for the project. We might have a problem. And just like that, the ground felt like it was slipping from beneath them again, plunging Jack into an abyss of fear. What kind of problem? As the coffee shop buzzed around them, Jack felt the weight of their dreams hanging in the balance. The uncertainty gnawed at him, a darkness creeping in. What do you mean? He asked, his voice hoarse. Anna's face paled, and the words tumbled out. They're reconsidering the grant. If we don't act fast. Jack's mind raced as he surveyed the room, taking in the energy, the hope that had once filled their plans now overshadowed by looming doubt. Then we need to do something drastic, he said firmly. His confidence sparked a glimmer of resolve in Anna's eyes. That could be the turning point they needed, but what would it entail? Could they put everything on the line when so much was still at stake, or would it lead them to a deeper unraveling? They both knew one thing was clear: whatever came next would alter the course of their journey forever. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Every question that swirled in his mind suddenly took shape. He was about to fight for everything, not just for his business but for his community and for Anna and Clara, people he had begun to realize mattered more than any balance sheet. Okay, he said, determination swelling like a festering storm in his chest. What do we need to do? Anna breathed deeply, her nervousness palpable. We need to show them we're serious. That we're committed to this project, to uplifting the community. If they don't see that, we'll lose the grant. Jack nodded, the gears already turning in his mind. Let us organize a presentation. We'll showcase what we've done, the community support. We need to show them that this isn't just about numbers, this is about hope. Anna's eyes flickered with newfound energy. Yes. And I can gather testimonials from families who benefited from our plans. We can demonstrate the impact we had. Perfect. Jack felt excitement building. We'll invite them to the community event. If they see the community engagement firsthand, it'll drive the point home. As they plotted their strategy, Jack's heart raced with every idea that emerged. The apprehension that had once filled his spirit began to dissipate. This was the moment he had been waiting for. No more hiding and no more fear. He was ready to face the consequences of his past, and he needed Anna by his side. Hours melted away as they worked, and finally, they stood up from the table sweaty but exhilarated. Jack turned to Anna, his heart swelling with gratitude. Thank you for not giving up. She smiled, but Jack could see a veil of uncertainty still lingering in her eyes. You really believe we can do this? She asked softly. Believe? I'm counting on it. He replied, his voice igniting with confidence. We're in this together now. Remember, it's all about the journey. On the day of the community event, Jack felt buoyed by excitement but anxious all at once. The sun shone brightly, casting a golden hue over everything as neighbors filed into his yard, filling the space with laughter and joy. Kids ran underfoot, clutching cotton candy, while families exchanged stories, the hum of life all around him. Jack! Clara called, her face aglow with pride as she fit right into the middle of the crowd, distributing food and hugs. This is amazing. Jack smiled, his heart swelling with appreciation for the community surrounding him. It is. Just like you said, Clara, we're in this together. As the midday sun hung high, Jack stepped up to a makeshift stage, excitement coursing through him like electricity. Each friendly face reminded him of why he was doing this. Thank you all for coming. He started, his voice steady. Today isn't just about food and fun, it's a celebration of our community resilience. We faced challenges, but we come together, and we'll keep doing that. Cheers erupted, children clapped, and Jack found himself invigorated by the roaring enthusiasm. I also want to share something special today, he continued, looking to the corner where Anna stood, her presence grounding him. We're working on a project that could change everything for our community. Jack detailed the initiatives they had been involved in and brought forward Anna, who presented the testimonials from families who revealed how their support systems had changed lives. The energy in the yard surged with hope, and by the time they wrapped up, every heart had a flicker of belief ignited. As Jack stepped off the stage, Clara pulled him into a tight embrace. You did it! She exclaimed, her eyes glistening with joy. Thanks for believing in me, he said, getting lost in the warmth of the moment, and just then, he spotted Anna talking to members of the grant committee, their expressions shifting between admiration and surprise. She caught Jack's eye and smiled brightly, the fear that once clung to her shoulders floating away. Days turned into weeks. They waited, uncertainty gnawing at Jack's hopes like a cruel thief. But soon enough, an email pinged into his inbox, the subject line bold and crucial: funding approved. Joy burst in his chest, it consumed him. He called Clara and Anna, and they gathered everyone in the yard once again, this time to share the good news. Their neighbors filled the air with cheers, their joy echoing off the once quiet walls of Jack's mansion. We did it! Together, Jack shouted, teetering on the brink of tears. Their collective smile was a tapestry of triumph woven together by shared struggles and renewal. In that moment, Jack realized the empire he built could never match the strength of a vibrant community bound by genuine connection, one that held him accountable, kept him humble, and inspired him. It was through Clara's wisdom and Anna's resolve that he found his purpose again. As he took a breath, the last weight of guilt melted away, leaving only the promise of tomorrow. Jack envisioned something brighter, a community flourishing and families empowered. He was ready, no longer the man boxed in by fear or success, but a true leader, one who learned that being vulnerable was indeed the greatest strength of all. As the celebrations continued, fate had a funny way of surprising him. Anna leaned against a post, a radiant smile that matched Jack's. "What's next?" she asked quietly, her eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "Let us keep building," Jack replied, beaming back. "Together." The laughter of friends, the light in the air, it was all the affirmation he needed, but below the surface, he felt the whispers of urgency. The world outside their bubble was still a place of struggle for many. And no matter how far they'd come, he knew their journey was just beginning. You need to subscribe now to keep riding this wave of transformation, leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and push this story forward, comment on how this ending made you feel, let's keep the conversation alive, and finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans know that every bit of support counts.